and we do seek pleasure through food. And that's not wrong. That's instinctual. And so having fun with the food that you're nourishing yourself with is going to make the journey so much more enjoyable.
There's lots of ways to increase your vitamin status. It's not just meat that gives you B12, but you can get it from a lot of other plants. But we have to start with education.
Hello and welcome. My name is Sonia Van Hecke. I am standing in for Siobhan and Jillian. Can you believe it? They trusted me with this show. So tonight's topic is the power of plants, the benefits of plant-based eating. I know for myself from personal experience, I am a breast cancer survivor. And whenever you get diagnosed with that C word, there's one decision you make right off the bat. And that is, am I going to outlive this? Am I going to overcome this? So if you've ever had to face a condition like this, that's the first one you have to decide that you're going to make it. So one of the questions that I had for you, Dr. Roni, plant-based eating, are you a vegan too?
No, let me explain to you. I totally believe in the plant-based. However, you got to remember, I am a naturopath, a holistic doctor that deals with 21 chronic illnesses with 21 types of detoxes. And we live in the world of chaos, number one, diet chaos, food chaos. And so I'm a nutritarian, and that means basically I believe in wholesome eating. I believe in good nutrients. I believe in just major antioxidants. I believe in mostly vegetables. But there comes a time in everyone's life where they got to be a little bit flexible. And you don't want to wait until you get that chronic illness. Like I'll treat a lot of my breast cancer patients, a lot of my cancer patients with plant-based. But then I have some patients that I have to do keto, or that I have to do carnivore. I mean, everything depends on who you are, because you got to remember, we have so many chronic illnesses out there, and not everyone can choose just one thing. Why? Because we have to have a lot of education around this. I guess just can't give someone a diet and let them go for it. All my plant-based patients, trust me, they are at a level where they understand it and they can do it right. But then there's a lot of people that jump on board and they're doing plant-based, but you could do crap with anything, right? You could take any diet and you can mess it up with processed food. And so we always got to remember that. But plant-based, there's a lot of benefits, but you got to do it right. I mean, there's lower rates of cancer, there's lower rates of heart disease, there's lower calories, lower saturated fats. It improves digestion with the fiber, right? It improves and lowers your cholesterol. It increases your antioxidants. I mean, these are the benefits that I'm telling you about plant-based. However, even though it decreases inflammation and decrease pain, if you do it wrong, all of those things that I just said don't matter, because the processed food is going to increase the rate of the what do I call it? Junk. What do I call it? Processed toxins. That's why I now do detoxification for many chronic illnesses, because I have to go in and digest someone's blood work with my medical professionals. And when I digest and get into their blood work, I may find, oh my goodness, they cannot do a plant-based without them having a lot of education. So I'm here to tell you that is the most wonderful thing that has come, besides the fact that is we think about animal welfare, the fact that we think that there's less resources that we use with plant-based. But let's all get on board with her and educate people, because that's the way that we're going to win this plant-based.
And you made a key point is that not doing anything right, or trying to do it ourselves. That's why there's professionals. Look, I played a sport. I didn't get better at my sport unless I had a coach,
That's
right?
right. Mm-hmm.
And we need coaches even for now, because unfortunately the foods that are coming at us, they may be convenient and easy, and yeah, you save time, but guess what? You're putting the wrong fuel in your body. With that, I just want to kind of introduce our guest for tonight,
Yeah.
Andrea Anoka. She's a plant-based chef, a holistic health coach. Dr. Roni, tell us a little bit about your story. What led you here, Andrea?
Honestly, my journey, I never even anticipated being where I am today. Chefhood never even crossed my mind. I, when I was in college going to school at ASU, I was in my health and wellness coaching program, but I started to actually do a lot of questioning when I rescued my first responsibility dog, Jade. And when I rescued Jade, she had so many health issues. And my question was, how do I keep her healthy for as long as possible and to give her the highest quality and longest quality of life? Because I saw that, I remember learning that so many domestic animals die at prematurely, very young ages. Their lifespan is almost double what they are currently living to today. And they are experiencing so many chronic illnesses just like we humans are. And the number one answer that kept boiling down to was diet. And I was like, this doesn't really make sense. I was very new to holistic world and natural health and well-being, but I just kind of went down the rabbit hole and learning about diet and learning about nutrition, and essentially, practicing what I was learning was helping her get off of medications and heal herself. And I started to do the same with myself. My journey actually started with veganism, which is different from plant-based. Veganism is where it's more focused on the welfare of the animals. And that was originally what I was targeting. And then once I took certain foods out of my diet, that I was no longer getting sick. I was no longer needing the medications that I was on. My health was improving. And I realized that my health was really important, the most important thing for me. So my choices around food stem from my passion for health and wellness and vitality. And because I had no idea what I was going to cook and prepare my family and I just started to learn how to cook plant-based / vegan. And so it really came out of a necessity to learn how to nourish myself. And I just grew in love with cooking food. So I just started to do it professionally alongside health coaching.
Amazing, amazing. Dr. Roni here, she's our celebrity neuropath, and she's our detox doctor. And I know you have a detox too that you've done, which is amazing too. One of the things, Dr. Roni, when we start this journey, I think what the problem is for most of us, and for myself as well, is that we feel like, oh, I have to be all plant-based. I can't do the combination of the two. But you just told us right now, it's okay depending on your needs, right? What your body needs, what you're going to eat. One of the questions that I had for you, Dr. Roni, was you said the plant-based diet can stop these chronic illnesses. Drea just said it right now. A lot of her chronic illnesses, were they tied to that eating of the meat, or was it tied to other things potentially that could have been, did you start eating organic, Drea, as well?
I ate organic here and there. I honestly started with what I financially could afford. Mm-hmm. And today I eat predominantly organic. The main thing that I took out of my diet was the overladen toxic animal foods that I was consuming. I also took out highly processed foods. So those things will make a huge difference on anyone's health. Exactly. And yeah, so that's a huge huge factor in my health and what a lot of people experience when they just eat real food.
Andrea, besides your health, I would imagine that mental health and stress levels by plant-based eating were affected as well. Is that correct?
Yes. So actually, I used to struggle severely with my mental health. And I noticed that by eating foods that were more nourishing to my brain and my body, all of which is really just encompassed in one vehicle, that I started to notice improvements with my mental health. And I was also noticing improvements with my gut health, which the two are linked. And I was able to get off of my medications. Like I said, I was on a whole bunch of different prescription medications, and for my mental health, that was a big area for me that has improved.
Wow, that's amazing. Dr. Roni, I think you even with the detox that we just recently did, I mean, from our skin to everything. We had people that stopped taking the depression medication. We had folks that actually their skin looked better, they felt better, they slept better. One gal, even apnea was gone. I mean, you just think of all the stuff that we're eating that we really don't recognize how it's affecting our bodies. Dr. Roni, I mean, obviously those are signs that what you were eating is wrong, correct?
Yeah. I mean, and the reason why she responded so well to the plant-based, it's literally about the nutrients, but not only the amount of nutrients that she's taken, but you got to remember she's metabolizing it and she's absorbing it. So, her vascular flow is improved. So it just drives all those nutrients through her bloodstream right up to her brain. And so that's literally what we want, right? So, but it's being interfered with the processing of our food, with the preservatives and the colors that make it look pretty. I mean, over 1,000 of these chemicals and toxins are dumped into our food supply every year. So basically what Andrea is saying, let's clean up, and let's clean up with plants. And we teach people to do it right? Not just go out and buy more processed food that's called plant-based, because not all, she's not talking about that, right? She's talking about how she's cooking and she's learning how to cook it the right way, and she's probably getting herbs and putting it in her vegetables, and she's probably getting a lot of organic, and she's doing it right. So that's what we have to teach people. We can't just say, hey, go out and just eat rice and beans and nuts and seeds and berries and tofu and edamames and seaweed. They're gonna go, what? How do I do that? Right? So it's a beginning of learning how to do this plant-based. But again, we are living in a world of so much malnourishment. We live in the land of the plenty, but Lord knows a lot of people are starving and they don't even know they're starving. And I know they're starving. I look at their blood work and I go, oh boy, how do I fix this? What do I just say? Go and do some plant-based, guys. No, they don't even know what that is yet. So what we have to do is consistently be out there with people like Andrea to teach people how to do it like she's doing it.
Thanks, Dr. Roni. Andrea, how did you begin? I mean, honestly, I look at vegetables and the same two things I do. I put the olive oil on it and the salt and the pepper, and that's it. And we steam them a little bit and then we eat them. And it's repetitive. And I know there's a lot of recipes out there, but when you start putting the butters and the cheeses and everything, I mean, is that better?
Oh gosh. So I'm a really big fan of making my own cheeses from Whole Foods. And actually, my experience, I started out eating a very processed vegan diet, and taking the toxic animal foods out made a huge difference, but having processed plant foods, taking that out made an even greater difference, because I was eating a lot of the processed meats and cheeses. And I constantly ate Impossible Burger, not to name drop, but all of these mock meats that really were wreaking havoc on my gut health. And one day I just realized, like, the food's just sitting there it's not getting digested very easily. So I realized that I really needed to focus on eating real foods. And so I started to work with, different making different sauces that make the dish exciting and delicious, different seasonings, and then also learning about the importance and actually understanding how to work with animals and the vegetation for them in their diet, but then also having the experience as a raw vegan chef. I was at a cancer care clinic as a raw vegan chef there, and learning the importance of sprouting our dormant nuts, grains, seeds, legumes, making these bioavailable so that we can easily digest them. So the nutrients are available for us to actually absorb and utilize in the body. It makes a world of a difference. And I know a lot of people get really hung up on not being able to digest certain plant foods, and that's a big reason why.
You said you sprouted the grain?
Yeah, you can activate the nutrients that are dormant in grains, nuts, seeds, and legumes. It's always best to soak them before you actually cook with them or consume them in their raw state.
Okay, I did hear that. I know Dr. Roni has taught us we have to put them in water overnight, especially the legumes. But where can we find these recipes? Are they on your website?
I actually have I have 2 ebooks that are on my website. One is the Become More Alkaline handbook. It's a handbook that I wrote that basically was based off of my journey and my wisdoms in the plant-based lifestyle. So it's a very holistic handbook. It talks about water, it talks about the preparation of the foods. There's recipes in there. There's a journal in there as well for, one of the things that I did that made such a difference in my journey with food was writing down what I'm eating and paying attention to how my body responds to it. So that's available in that handbook. And then there's a recipe guide that is more focused just on the food.
That's excellent. Dr. Roni, you actually have mentioned that food intolerances can happen at any age. As we get older, there might be a food that maybe when we were younger didn't affect us, but it is now that we're older. Is that correct?
Yeah, and a lot of people, and I'm sure, and we all have a toxic load, and I'm sure that's what happened to Andrea. She met her toxic load. She was getting sicker and sicker and sicker. So basically, she cleaned up with plant-based. And when you clean up, you're also cleaning up your allergens. You don't realize that, but a lot of people are allergic to eggs. Even people are allergic to the chicken. People are allergic to the preservatives and the dyes that they put in these foods. So when you clean up, you start feeling better, and all your gut starts reacting better too as well. Because how do you have good probiotics or good prebiotics in a very toxic gut? So a lot of these things are happening. We are inflamed for a reason, and people don't realize that the inflammation that we feel on our knees and our ankles, and you can see it sometimes in people's face, how inflamed they are. Once you clean up your diet, whether it's plant-based or another type of diet, you're going to start seeing the inflammation go down, the pain goes down, you start feeling more alive, your brain starts reacting better, and then you want to do even more. So it becomes contagious, right? Because you feel so good. And that's why we tell people that once you experience the detox, don't stop, do it again in 2-3 months, because obviously the one that feels the greatest off of the plant-based or the detox is they had a high toxic load and they don't want to stop. They want to do it again and again and again, or even some will want to live that complete lifestyle of a plant-based. And that's what I'm saying. We have to start somewhere. And I think the education is huge. I'm going to get her book because, I do a lot of plant-based. I'm not all plant-based, but I believe that we have to meet people where they are today. If I have somebody basically and their blood sugar is through the roof, that's a lot of education to get them to go plant-based, because now we're saying all plants with someone who's just used to eating lots of processed food and meats and going to different restaurants all day. And I'm not talking about just people who live in the food desert. I'm talking about a lot of my corporate people who have money enough to do it, but they don't have the time for the education. So those are the ones we want to go after so that they can teach their kids and their kids can teach their kids.
You know, one thing that Drea said in her podcast that I listened to is that there's a sensuality with food or a love with food. And I
Yes.
would think some of your clients, I mean, I love eating good. I'll be honest. If my husband says we're going to Laurie's or Morton's, hey, I'm there. You know what I mean? But I think that there has to be some type of control at one point if it's making you toxic, right, Drea? When did you realize it? I mean, where were you mentally when you realized that, okay, this is it, I can't no more?
I realized I couldn't when my health was really taking a deep dive in the wrong direction.
Was it mentally, physically, or all of it?
It was all of it. And really, like, I started to, I have a history of an eating disorder. So that was also a factor in a lot of, you know, my mental health and my gut health. And when I was using food as an escape mechanism, I realized that I'm not the only one. There's a lot of people who do. And I work with clients currently who, you know, they have that history of using food as an escape mechanism. And we live in a world where a lot of people are doped out on food, addictive food. They are doped out on technologies, social media, so many other things. And food it's one of the most primal things for us as, you know, every species. It's a primal need. And something that I learned when I was in college was that, you know, children who are not breastfed, they tend to have oral fixations later down the road. And that's where people grasp for cigarettes, alcohol, food, whatever they can put in their mouth immediately to soothe them. And so when we're doing that with addictive chemicals in food, we become addicted. And it was once that I realized that I was having this toxic relationship with food, I knew that I had to do something about it. And, you know, I've done detoxes. My husband and I do have a detox program that we created together. And I've done that multiple times, which has helped me so much, kind of quantum leap in my health journey. But then also shape shifting my relationship with food and getting really clear on what that was. And also, like, and it sounds very contradictive, but implementing intermittent fasting has helped me with creating a healthier relationship with food.
I think intermittent fasting for a lot of us is just basically saying, you know, if I'm not hungry, don't eat yet. I don't eat in the morning. I really wait as long as I can to have a bigger lunch. You know what I mean? My only setback is that I stay up kind of late. One person I want to bring on is Helena. Helena Ayala became, how long has it been now, Helena, that you've been a vegetarian, a vegan?
Vegetarian, yeah.
Vegetarian.
20 years, a little bit more than 20 years. Yes.
20 years.
I for 20 years, I haven't stopped anywhere to buy fast food or hamburgers or anything. I mean, I think the universe conspired with me to take me through my journey. First, I read a book about the diet of the future America by John Robbins, from Baskin Robbins. And he was sent to school to learn, and when he found out how the animals were treated and what kind of meat we were eating, he wrote this book. As soon as I finished the book, I never ate meat anymore. It was like the next day I went grocery shopping and I could buy for my son any meat. And I say, here's the money. You buy your meat and you cook it. He was really good cook. And then I was very lucky that I met a yogi, a Russian yogi. He came for visiting, and then he stayed for 2 weeks, and we organized events. And he teaches on doing some cleansing, detoxing, and then he taught us how to eat simple and eliminate everything that is processed, canned food, any processed food, anything. So then start learning to eat simply. And then I was invited to participate in a 10-day silent meditation at the Buddhist Center. And it's 10 days. And so they give you all plant-based organic food, and it's coordinated the way that you don't have more carbs or everything. So you don't fall asleep because you meditate the whole day, for 10 days. And at the end, they make cookies and things like cakes and everything for the last day, but I mean that. So the following day, a year, I came over and I signed up as a volunteer and started learning to cook. So every time I went to my 10 days silent meditation, I'd be in the kitchen and I was learning how to cook, how to do everything. But in the beginning, I gotta be truthful with, like Dr. Roni said, yeah, if you need to educate yourself, because at the beginning, as soon as I read the book, I said, no more, I'm vegetarian, but I just didn't need food, but I eat potatoes and a lot of stuff that makes me gain weight, and I say, no, this is not the way to do. So I signed up for a class. It's a institute that teach for vegetarians. So sign up for 6 months, and then I learned how to cook vegetarian, and then I enjoy it. And it's something that I left the sodas from 20 years ago. I haven't drank a soda or been in a fast food restaurant, and it's really amazing. It's impacted my energy. I used to have my own business. I needed a lot of energy. And and people say, why you have so much energy? I say, I don't know, but it's mentally, emotional, and everything. And for me, it's been an incredible. I remember the first time I came to visit my family to Mexico. I'm the only one lives here. Everybody was so worried. What Helena's gonna eat? Helena doesn't eat meat. And I say, don't worry about me. Worry about yourself. I find what to eat, But, and then I went to visit my other family in Ventura, and they all come from having a butcher market and all that. They eat meat eaters. And Auntie Helena is coming. What are we gonna do?
Y'all worry. They don't even want to invite you to the party no more. She's too complicated.
So in my home, find no canned food, no processed food, no nothing. I've been taking plenty nutrition because I gained so much weight for different reasons, other things, and I have to go to a bariatric surgery, and I have to go 6 months to nutrition classes also to learn eat very nutritious, because you eat so little, you need to really get what you need, So I'm happy we have Dr. Roni here available for us and talk about all this and what is good and what we can do.
One of the things I was going to ask, Drea, I know for a lot of folks, they think, oh my goodness, I don't have the time to go to the grocery store and get those vegetables. It's going to be too expensive for me. Helena just said it right now. She tried to self-guide herself to do it. And like you said, Dr. Roni, it's not something you want to take on yourself without being guided. You want to be coached. You want to be told, okay, let's check where you're at, right? So what would you recommend, Drea? I mean, is there certain foods over other foods like kale versus, getting the regular lettuce? I mean, where do we begin in making sure this one is one you have to have, okay? And this one, maybe not so much.
That's a really great question. And, what I tell people when they're getting started is to start where you are and do the best that you can, because everybody's in a different economic state. And I was a broke college kid when I started. I did not have the finances to afford all of the luxurious different foods. I started with implementing more fresh whole vegetables. Legumes are so inexpensive. You can buy in bulk or you can buy in a bag, and you can soak those overnight and cook them the next day. I wouldn't say that there's one food that's going to, just completely transform your health. I think all real foods can be superfoods. I think just starting with, focusing on fresh whole foods, whole vegetables, raw fruits, whole whole legumes, whole nuts and seeds. I coach people through this, and again, the ebook that I have on my website is a great starting point for people that want to learn the foundations. And I also teach cooking classes on this and workshops. So, those are great resources for more like hand-holding support. But like I said, like just focusing on bringing in more fresh whole foods into your weekly menu is a really foundational place to start.
That's great. That's great. I know that for the insurance carrier that I work for during the day, we do meatless Mondays, and we tell people start with one thing at least, right? One day, and then start incorporating it. But with your detox, Dr. Roni, it has been so easy. And that's another question, Drea, because I found this with your detox, Dr. Roni. I wasn't hungry like I thought I would be. And I didn't lose muscle, which a lot of folks are worried about losing the muscle because you're not eating the protein. What do you say to that, Drea?
That is a really popular question. And my answer is no. If you are eating a wide variety of plants, all plants contain amino acids that are building blocks for protein. And so when you are eating a varied diet in plant foods, you can exponentially meet your protein needs. I have done bodybuilding through a plant-based diet, and I've never had a struggle with gaining muscle, gaining lean, healthy muscle. So plants have truly fueled me as an athlete. My husband as well, who's, been on the plant-based journey with me. It's like truly education does so much in helping people really transform.
When I talk about the high fives, we always talk about some of those, the most popular ones, like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high sugar, high weight, and high stress, which is a recipe for death, because people don't understand how to change their lifestyle. So, and you don't want to, and, people should buy her book and start somewhere, but you don't want to make this complicated. And I think a lot of people do. And one of the things that we want to do, like when I talk about PEVI, for an example, I say P, which is protein, which is essential. And the reason why they call it essential is because you can't live without protein. And the E part, which is essential fats, you can't live without essential fats. And then the V part is vegetables. And then of course, Y means your supplements or whatever it is that you need to make sure you have all of your nutrients. But to make plant-based easier, there's so many ways to do this to get started. Buy her book first, but remember that there's organic plant-based protein powder. You can learn how to make a smoothie with that. You don't want to make this complicated. I do plant-based protein smoothies all the time, and then you put some really good essential fats in it. And I think the other thing that people have to understand is that you have to make your vegetables fun. Like a lot of people, when you say vegetables, they go, well, it's too many greens. No, there's vegetables in every color of the spectrum. Right. You got to start to have fun with this, the oranges and the reds and the purples and not just green. And I think that when we teach people about nutrients, we need to make them understand is that every single vegetable has a different constituent for health. You just can't just say, well, I love spinach, I'm going to eat spinach every day. No, because then you're missing some of your most important antioxidants in the other colors. So I think that if we just keep it very simple to start and buy her book and just realize that those are recipes for success, and you can build on it and build on it and build on it, but you have to start somewhere. Right. And then all people who have a chronic illness, they need blood work, because I find that some of my sickest clients were vegetarians because why? They didn't know how to do it. I mean, their B12 levels were at the bottom. But then once they learn that, then they go, oh, okay. There's lots of ways to increase your vitamin status. It's not just meat that gives you B12, but you can get it from a lot of other plants. But we have to start with education.
I would think it's like a muscle, right? I mean, the muscle doesn't get stronger and better unless you practice it. And for the folks that are connected tonight, they have made a commitment to themselves to better their health, not just for themselves, but because they have people that count on them as well to be there for them. And I think that that's one of the biggest things that we have to take with us, is that there are folks that are dependent on us to live. But Drea, what would you recommend to folks? What would be some last words you want to leave? We're going to get your book because we need it. We need it not just for me, but for my family. I want my generations to be able to succeed.
Again, start where you are. Find a community of support, because if you don't have the support network, it's going to be really hard to keep moving forward with your health journey. So having a good support system like you all have created, and with Dr. Roni's detox program and protocols, you know, there's just I have visited these groups and seen the level of support that there is, and I think that's such a beautiful thing, to hold each other up and lift each other up and have accountability, you know, inspiring one another. You know, we kind of operate as a tribe, and when everyone else is doing something, we want to be a part of that. So so a support system is huge, even if it's just one person, right? And focusing on having fun with food, you know, is so important, because we do seek pleasure, and we do seek pleasure through food, and that's not wrong. That's instinctual. And so having fun with the food that you're nourishing yourself with is going to make the journey so much more enjoyable.
And I'm hoping that you'll take this valuable information and you'll share it not just with yourself, but with others. And the community is true. Here we hold each other up, and we're here for one another. And I thank you so much, Drea, for being here. Dr. Roni, it's always a pleasure to be with you. I just love, you ladies are contagious. And Helena, your story, I mean, think, you know, you were eating a certain way for many, many years, but you were able to make the change. I'm able to make the change. Dr. Roni made the change a long time, and so did Drea. And because of that, they live a better, vibrant life. So I just want to thank everybody out there for joining us tonight. Remember, feel good, share good, where we keep it real to heal.